You gotta include your audio.
Work. Doop.
But no, in the idea of it, there will be hints. Like, for the first really big hint is the fact that the game's time is 1-for-1 in of our time, but you can fast forward and rewind it.
Okay.
And it seems just like something that you just need in a game like this, right? So it's innocuous almost.
And is there a way for you to is there a limit how far you can go back?
Technically you go back to, you don't get, technically on the first few times you go back,
No,
you
hold
don't
on.
necessarily get a choice on
Re-explain
where and when you go back.
Let me re-explain myself. Is when you're fast forward and rewinding time, like as a game mechanic,
Oh, yes.
is there like a certain like game mechanic wise, is there a certain like, oh, you can only go back this far?
You can only go back 24 hours. Or
Yep.
forward 24 hours.
Yep. And if you have say like do you have plans to have any sort of like waiting mechanics of like, oh, I'm building this building, it's going to take me like 3 hours for it to build real time kind of thing, or is that not going to be a thing?
There will be wait time mechanics, but the wait time mechanics can be fucked with the fast and forward feature.
Okay. And is there going to save? You've got the that's going to be a bit weird game mechanic wise, because
Yes.
if you can fast forward time gates, which is fine, are you going to be able to, what do you call it? When that person has built the building and then they rewind time again, is that building still going to be there, or is it going to be back in building progress?
If so, that's actually part of the larger time loops. For the first time loop, so the very first time you play the game, right? It puts you back into the time gate. It undoes all of the, but as loop events, so it'll be posed as, and just as a reminder, all events are DLC type stuff that you can play at any time. But there will be pop-ups in the story that will be like, hey, now is a good time to play this event. This event is the next part of the story.
Okay, instead of doing like pop-up events have more of a so people don't get annoyed at pop-ups, have more of like a like they do in Mass Effect.
It's not no. It's not a pop-up as in like when you log on, a pop-up pops up. One time during the story, it tells you, hey, this is the event you should download. Here is the link to download the event if it's not at the time, because this is still a mobile game. The first event in real life time is dropped in real life time, but if you come in at like the 4th year, you can go to the first event.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense, but also what do you call it? You shouldn't, like, I understand keeping the game on the smaller side. Don't get me wrong.
Oh no, this game, no, as a reminder, I'm already expecting this game to be one of the largest games of Gigabyte history. It needs to come with its own cartridge, which I will have to deal with when I go to manufacturing.
Okay, so with that being said, you should probably have it be what you calls it, words come to me.
Doesn't want to.
No, they don't.
On strike.
So you're gonna have it be able to be downloaded, or do you, as well as a physical copy?
Yeah,
or...
you can have it downloaded, like any other mobile game. It's gonna be more for consoles and computers, just because I already know how big it's going to be, and I don't know if we could crunch it down to under 50 gigabytes.
Righto. So then you going to have to basically be like, as you update the game, you can release a physical version of each expansion, but
No. So the physical version is basically, so I was learning about it earlier when I was just looking through stuff. You can make storage devices into mini servers.
And you want people to connect to those servers.
Basically, so you can connect to the server, and anything you download is just yours on your own cartridge. That is like one of the biggest storage cartridges on the market at the time, right? That way you have enough space for our game and whatever game you want to put on and play, right? The idea is, as events come out, as updates come out, they go onto your physical copy or onto your Xbox or whatever, right? With all the updates and everything, and then you own that.
Yeah.
That's just yours. If our doors close for whatever reason, whatever you have, that's what you have and can play. And more techie people might be able to turn the servers into live servers to keep up, mods or whatever. Is the idea. Because I can't explain to you, Drunk, how traumatized I am after Record closed. I've had so many games close on me and I never cared. Record closed on me and I fucking went into a mental breakdown. I loved that game so fucking much. It traumatized me in the way only Madoka can.
Righto.
So if I'm making a game, I want it to be a game you get to have regardless of my studio. Righto. You know what I mean? Whatever you pay for is yours. So that's why it's a lofty game aspiration, buddy. I don't know what I'm getting myself into, but I'm hopeful.
Hopeful, yes, but also I understand where you're coming from, but basically, you can buy a physical version, which will give you the thing, but
Yes.
are you still, if people don't want to buy that storage device, basically, can they still just download it?
Yeah, they can still download it. They
Yep.
just have to have space for it. I am giving a physical copy because I understand how fucking physically big the storage of basically having 5 games in one is going to be. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So.
And I know, gotten slightly off topic with that. Back to the story thing is, since people, are you with people who aren't buying the physical copy? Because I'm guessing the physical copy will have everything from the get-go on it.
Everything that starts out with, yeah.
Yes.
Over time, again, things get downloaded as we do shit.
Yes.
And both on the physical copy and the digital download, there will be chunks that you can uninstall, basically. So, like, you can uninstall, temporary events.
Okay.
You can uninstall worlds as you finish them.
So
that does mean that you have to reinstall worlds if you ever want to go back to them.
Won't that fuck with the main hub world?
Well, no, because the main hub worlds are two separate. It's your ship, not necessarily in the world.
Okay.
Every world will have its own hub area.
Yep.
And then you have a more or less a portable hub that you make camp with, quote unquote.
Okay. So basically your ship is a really big ship you can upgrade.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
And that becomes your home away from home. And the one thing you can't uninstall because that's the core of the game. That is your starting point, your ending point, where you save, where you get your dailies, where blah 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 blah
Blah blah blah blah. And with that being what it is, are you going to be having that as people can stay away from their hub and eventually have to go back each and every time, or can they just move their hub to that world they're currently in?
They can move the hub into the world. Like I said, there's going to be a temporary hub, and that's going to be your camp. And the camp has most everything the ship does. That will depend on actual practicality once we get up and going with, coding the shit.
Mm-hmm.
But it will have at least the basics you would need out of your hub. You know what I mean? Your dailies, your this, that, whatever. But yeah, everything else is kind of tertiary. If you want to be able to go from world to world to world, you're going to have the worlds downloaded, right?
Yeah.
And they start downloaded. That way you have an immersive experience until you need the space.
Righto. I understand wanting to have the base worlds be modular, basically.
Right.
But overall for like gameplay wise, to just make it that bit simpler for programming, I would say have the core worlds set, and then anything you can have extra worlds added in or dropped.
Yeah. That's probably how it'll end up being once we actually get into the coding. But the idea is what I want, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And what I think I'm trying to say is don't have that idea set in stone of that's what you
yeah,
want.
yeah.
Yeah.
None of this is set in stone because once you actually get coding, things are gonna be added, taken away, changed as, whatever. And I'm already at that point of like, I don't want to start coding soon, but I've been looking into programs. I've been looking into Unreal Engine because if I can get a semi-working demo, I can bring it into investors and be like, this is what I think the next big game is going to be.
Righto. And that's fine and all, but if you're thinking about wanting to use an engine that is similar to Unreal or Unreal itself, I would say either get to Drake or look into the company that Bethesda got to do the Oblivion remake, because or play it yourself, because that is a good example of Unreal 5 taking something that was there before and changing it around to be almost...
Sure.
It's like completely different but identical at the same time.
Right.
So, and they've even done like a small video on how they've done it.
Sure. Okay.
So that might be worth looking into.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm thinking something like Unreal Engine because one of the first base worlds is that rain world that I really want.
Yeah.
It to basically be the ocean world or the ocean level except it's not.
Right. And are you planning to be on top of the ocean world or underneath?
Both.
Righto.
Both, because I suck. Because I hate myself. Because I can't leave well enough alone. Because I understand how game formula works. And so therefore I understand that every game has an underwater world for a reason. I just want this to be the best water level spiel it could be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so basically, if you don't want people complaining about hashtag too much water, is you want to limit travel between places on the water.
This world specifically is one of the reasons why I want all the worlds to be module. I want a water world so good and so overly perfected that it makes everyone hate it. Because I want it to have not just like when you're on top of the water world, it's not just that you're on top of the water world. You're on top of a water world that constantly is raining with no breaks whatsoever. It's just light rain to heavy rain is the only difference day to day, right? I want a water world that is so good, I would love it, but everyone else would hate it. I want to be the only person in the world who loves this because over perfection. Because I want it to make people feel the way I feel in water worlds, which is oversaturated, overstimulating, but somehow still beautiful as fuck, and you want to make it through just because it's pretty. It's pretty until it's too soggy. Does that make sense?
Righto. Then, if you want it to be pretty until it's too soggy, then you're gonna have to start looking at places like I would say probably, what is it? Caribbeans and the
Oh yeah, Malaysia,
yeah.
Venice. I have literally been, that's how I started this project, was looking into stuff like that and going, what kind of culture
And how
would
do
a
you...
all wet sorry, go ahead.
And I was also going to say is, how do you want the underneath of the water looking?
Oh, think Rapture from
Okay.
fucking BioShock, where it's like it's a beautiful city, but it's clearly a city that's falling apart.
Right.
Atlas, I'm sorry,
Sorry, I mean
Atlantis.
the ambient slash design of the underwater itself, not the cities.
Oh,
So do you want them to be more coral reefs? Do you want a deep dark ocean? Like,
that is meant to depend on where you are in the world.
right,
Because if you're in the cities, then you basically have a Rapture below the water. And there's
right,
people living there, and it's a functioning city, but it's clearly one hard sneeze from shattering.
yeah,
But also, you get to go outside of the water, and in those areas, the water is more like deep, dark ocean. How far does the city go? How much of it is flooded? Kind of thing.
yeah,
But then there are other places that are built on mountains that are basically going to be coral reefs.
yeah. The mountain itself is going to be a coral reef, or
Well, the mountain itself will be supporting coral reefs because of
righto.
how that works. And the only amount of quote unquote sun is because this particular area is higher per se than some of the clouds that cover the entire world. So it's some of the only place where you get sunlight, but there's still a light rain because fuck you guys. I say with all my heart.
Righto.
I want it to be the whole reason why people love and hate the ocean.
Then
Listen.
no, I just have an idea running through my head, but that's just
Let me hear it, 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 let me hear it.
Calm down. It is more or less to do with what do you call it? The reef and rapture basically being is one or two ways. Is the rapture type city basically having a as your president would say, is a bad deal with them, where they're getting their their quote unquote land deals, their land resources, quote unquote, are being taken and used to hold the city together, but they're getting like stuff in return that they already have.
Okay, yeah.
It's like, or they're getting like an abundance of metal resources from underwater mining, let's say, but they're not. They're getting stuff that they, quote unquote, don't need. Like, they're getting like the soft metals like copper, gold, stuff like that, that you don't need an abundance of, but they're pretty and useful, but they're only useful until you get to a certain point.
Gotcha.
Or like they're basically the people are being taken advantage of, by the underneath like Rapture like city because of like in Rapture, greed, and once ambitions take hold.
I just want to make sure I got this right. The below is taking advantage of the top people.
Yes.
The
but the top people, the surface people don't quote unquote being seen and taken advantage of. They are being seen of like they're getting a quote unquote, they're either getting a good deal or it's just, oh, this is how it's always been, and they don't see a problem with that.
Sure, I get what you mean.
And you could have a storyline where you could help the Rapture people like help slowly rebuild their city, but at the cost of the Islanders. Island City, but overall, like, you helping them is for naught because people's ambition and greed.
Right.
Or you could help the Islanders, but they quote-unquote become stagnant because without those resources they can't progress, like, technology-wise. So
I don't disagree with this. I had a different vision for it though,
sure,
but it wasn't that different from what you were saying. Well,
Righto.
so it's literally that, but in reverse.
Righto.
The people on top they aren't necessarily taking advantage of the people from below. It's just the deal isn't necessarily all that great per se. And it comes down more to how the people, the surface people, treat the underwater people. Because the surface people just are like, no, that's where our homeless is. They go and they work down there so that way they're part of the community and whatever. But it's also supposed to be like a tale of two cities where it's like both of these cities are actually really good places to be. Because like the underwater people, they're like, those people are just snobs who are assholes. Like we have, they share their electricity with us and we give them, the metals from below where we need to have structure. That way they can keep building up, because every year on this planet, the big yearly event is a flood, where basically these two people have to come together to basically continue building the world so they can survive.
Right.
Because one level from below gets basically eaten up and recycled and put up there to become one more level up there that everyone can live on. And the Rapture people basically move up one level. But both places, you can tell, are snobby about the other because, oh, well, the Rapture is the best place to be. Or, oh, well, the surface is the best place to be because of XYZ. But there's, like, both of these places are beautiful. Just like in the book.
Aesthetics.
And different aesthetics. Of just like beautiful water, beautiful ocean, beautiful life, and it's like both communities have their strong points and of course their weak points, because why not, right?
Yeah.
And it's just how to say, it's just that they don't like each other. They're just snobby to each other. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
But they work together because this is a world where, like, you have to work together. You know what I mean? Because, like, it's trying to swallow you whole. It's trying to drown you. There are big leviathans that can come up and destroy cities. because they wanted to move their tail. You know what I mean?
Alright. Then we could do the same of if there's leviathans below, we could have some sort of leviathan or creature above the clouds or close to the stratosphere, basically stopping them from basically actually leaving the planet itself.
That would be a good idea. No space travel for this, and the only people who know how to get off the planet are the Romani and the main character who came here by ship.
Yeah.
Which I still haven't come up with a good name for the Romani. I might just straight up call them Romani in the game, because I'm not Romani. The Romani have been an oppressed people throughout history. I couldn't say what's good for them. If I ever actually got this game up off the ground and with investors, some of that investment money would go to asking a few Romani people, hey, if you were a spacefaring people who could go planet to planet, how would you go planet to planet, and also what would your name be? Like, those would be my first two questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everything about the Romani people is like working title.
Yep.
But they are one of the 4 races of people quote unquote. I don't know if I want to make them humanoid, alien, beastoid, whatever, right? But I want them to feel represented, and I want them to be able to go world from world.
Yeah.
They're just very choosy on who they give that information to.
Yeah.
And each world treats them differently. Like, there's one world that reveres them completely. There's one world where, like, a Romani can't really step onto the world, otherwise they might be killed.
Righto.
But even that is working idea stuff.
Yeah.
Because maybe it shouldn't be that harsh or something like that. I don't know.
Because the problem is you can be harsh, but you also have to be...
You need to be respectful.
Well, yeah. / quote unquote fair.
Yes. %100%. Agree. Which is, every planet is going to have a once a year event thing going. Because this is still going to be like a mobile game-esque thing, you know what I mean?
Right. And when it comes to events, you can have new events that you can do once, but also I would say have rotational events
Sure,
that
yeah.
are like every month the event changes, but it rotates out to a different
Yeah.
event. And those events are just constant year round. So it gives people and
Something to do.
then to do slash those limited time events if there's like unique weapons or like however you do your combat, there's unique items to get from those events you only do once. You could put those rewards as a low drop chance into the old events loot pools. So newer players or returning players have a chance to get those items.
That is a good idea. But yeah, events are gonna be... I do want there to be a yearly, like, Halloween event where you're encouraged to go back to your dead world and, like, go mourn the carcass and whatnot. Be like a... Fucking, what's the Mexican... It's the Day of the Dead. I feel so white right now. Dias de Morta.
Something like that, yeah.
But with events, not only do I want them to be like world adjacent, but I also want to make sure that there is a rest period in between events. It's not pound your face with so many events you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. And
It's
that's why
going to be a balance.
that's what I was saying, have like events that are always just around. So people who already have stuff from that event can just like ignore the event and use that event to rest.
Just events that are due at your own pace.
Yeah. And then once that event rotates out, it's fine because when that event comes back, you've kept your progress for that event.
Yeah. I definitely feel keeping the progress for the events. Big major thing for me. Bark, 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 bark.
How are you doing in your thoughts there? What's going on?
Oh, nothing was going on. I was literally catching my sheltered people up on doing the things that they need to do before I can zone back out into thinking about my game.
Okay.
I was in a rare moment of I actually have to play this game or everyone will die. But definitely, trying to think of main plots for... So, the Land of Jade tutorial area, right? Which, again, is the world Land of Jade, right?
I'm guessing it's going to have very much Chinese story inspiration.
Tibetan, specifically. So a big theme about this is I want to represent cultures that don't get represented very often. Because why represent Tibet when China's right there? You know what I mean? Why represent the Pacific Islands when Japan's right there?
Yep.
While still having some... Because I want this to be a worldwide game, there is going to be some concessions made. Like, it's going to look Tibetan, but there will be distinct Chinese flares, so that China can't say that I'm trying to say Tibet is its own place, even though that's totally what I'm saying. Same with, there's an area that's based off of, like, Germany, Ukraine, just the Eastern European areas with some distinct Russian flair.
And didn't you say you had a quote-unquote desert planet?
It's... no. Not really. I have a dead planet, but that doesn't necessarily mean desert. I mean, it's dry as fuck and can be counted as desert. But I have a place that's based off of the Aztecs, which some of that's desert, some of that's high mountain, and some of that's rainforest.
Yes, okay.
With large Aztecian block, but specifically... I used to remember the tribe's name, but there's a tribe from Brazil and Chile that are like cousins, I guess, of Aztecs. I don't know if that's correct. Don't quote me on that shit. But that style with some distinctively Mexican flair. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, and the Land of Jade is Tibetan with some distinct Chinese flair and some very distinct, this is also a European power structure. Just because I said so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it will have some European cross flair.
Right.
And in the context of the game as a whole, if you were going to go back to that place, it would be a little crowded with the theming. But because I want the tutorial to trick you into thinking it's the main game, yeah, get fucked. You know what I mean? But with that, it means that it has to have at least a half a game's worth of stuff. So what I've come up with, right, so far is there's a royal family, and then there are four major families that are like, how to say, they're the duches and the smaller lords, that type of stuff. And they're all vying for yours and your elder sibling, the heir.
Yep.
Which the heir is... Hold on. I feel dumb real quick. Rowan. And the PC character is called Aspen. You know when it says, like, type your name in? That's the first name that pops up. That you have to, like, delete over if you want a different name.
Yep.
But everyone's competing for Rowan's hand and secondarily your hand. Is the main quest spiel. The end of the game is a ball in where Rowan the heir is supposed to announce who they have chosen as their person. Because that's the B plot of, like, every time you see your sibling, they're like arguing with the king about love. They're in a field of snapdragons reminiscing about how, regardless of their gender, male or female, reminiscing about how true love is really meaningful to them. Because the heir is whatever the opposite gender that you pick. Because why not? So, and that's just like in the background. You don't have too much to do with that in the first cycle. More to do with that in the second and third cycles. In the first cycle, you are more just an observer in all of these worlds, doing not necessarily minimal stuff. You can affect the story, but like you can affect the story in the same way you can affect the fucking story in Genshin, right?
Right.
It's not until you start actually unlocking your more time, power, potential that you really get the power to play around and have agency in the game and make large changes. You know, like BioWare changes, but maybe a little bit. Yeah. I miss BioWare, and I miss Tall Tale in its storytelling, not so much its agency and choice.
Yeah. Like the first Walking Dead game.
Yes. Back when the choices actually kind of mattered.
Yeah.
Apparently I'm evil this round. So one of these families, so the families are very basic. One of them's traders, one of them's magistrates, one of them's a military force. One of them is like, it kind of seems like they're everywhere. But it's because their family is like really community based. I don't know how to have a word for that, you know what I mean? And they are also, on the first run through, you believe that they are traitors who have thrown their lot in with the rebels. A big thing about the every time you go back to the Land of Jade is your perspective changes. Eventually it's supposed to be like you start, loving your parents and like you guys could never do any wrong. My country, 'tis of thee, like super all about the nationalism, right?
Yeah.
And then the king is literally killing the world. So, like, you keep going back to save the Land of Jade, and it's like one more thing was killing it. One more thing was killing it. One more thing was killing it. Until you come to the conclusion that the biggest thing that needed to change was that the royal family needed to not be a royal family anymore, and it needed to be like a democracy or some other governmental thing, because the king is literally draining the life tree. And the life tree is how everyone lives. So you still have to do some of these other things, because some of these other things are just like constants.
Yeah.
Like the entropy paradox is a constant trying to fuck around with all of the people. um the first run through you go through, a lot of the quests are going to be based around, helping the homeless, uh, generic fantasy stuff.
Okay, so yeah, so that
busting down the
world's
rebels.
story level is, well, technology level is Fantasy Knight.
Yes.
Okay.
With some magic technologies, if that makes sense. Some technologies that are born out of, like, they have electricity because electricity magic exists, so why wouldn't they have electricity?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
So, aesthetic wise, so basically, do you want them to be like magic knights that have airships kind of technology, or do you want them like magic knights medieval kind of thing?
Kind of in the middle, if that makes
Okay.
sense. They
Then
have some technologies that we would consider advanced for the medieval look that they have. Medieval Tibetan look that they have, which somehow looks way dingier than just Middle Ages stuff, while also looking really nicely uniformed, if that makes sense. But that comes down to when I actually start drawing out the maps. Trying to get to a place here where it's like, I don't know, like, so you can understand the type of, like, you have to go and do, like, fetch quests, and you have to go and do a lot of meet and greets of, well, this is this person, this is this person. This person really wants your hand. And it's almost like, oh, that's setting you up for, like, a BioShock type romance game. You know what I mean? And, you're really, especially in the first loop, you are extremely, what's the word for it? You're extremely harsh on the rebels. Because you think that they're doing terrorist attacks, they're trying to undermine your family, they're lying to the people to cause mass hysteria. And then as the loops go on and you find out that, like, the rebels are telling the truth.
Yep.
Like, this isn't an entropy plot. This is straight up your own family is trying to kill your world without knowing it because they're greedy. And like the foreshadowing for that in the first cycle is you have a medical researcher who comes to you asking for an audience, saying that the king has refused to see him. The Oaklium, the researcher, has disturbing news about the world tree and Yggdrasil disease and the overall state of the world. He begs Aspen to listen, but you can have him arrested or you can hear him out. Some of the only agency you kind of get. I have Guild has protection quest. The Merchants Guild has protection quest. You know, saying the rebels keep attacking supply routes, have travel available, gathering resources, clearing trade routes, and talking about procedures? Question mark? Produces? I don't know what word I was trying to spell there. The Adventurer Guild has dailies, monster hunts, posted quests, so quests from other people going, hey, I need help with, like, finding a chicken, or, hey, could you run and grab me this? It also has, like, resource gathering. It has mail posts where you go and, like, you know, mail basically messenger letters around, repairing infrastructure, clearing mines to allow the miners to work easier. And they also have, like, info on all of the bosses around.
Yep.
You have quests that come straight from the king, which is, like, you have to go observe court and give rebuttals and bust down rebels and, you know, go with Rowan to a tea party with possible courtship and check in with lookouts, talk to the Dragon Rider diplomats and other diplomats. That kind of stuff. And that's what I have so far.
Yep.
Again, I want it to be almost its own game, if not half of its game. I want it to have enough where it tricks you into thinking this is the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That it's just this random fantasy game is the game. And you're going to have courtmanship, and you're going to be busting down rebels forever, and, you know, the additions are going to be additions onto this world per se.
Yes.
Okay. And then I have a page for each of the families. Each of the families is gonna have their own quest line, at least one. And when you do the other cycles, you can also add the rebels to your quest line and find out what they're actually all about. So basically in the second and third cycles is when the Land of Jade becomes its own, like, bigger game. You know what I mean?
And what I've sent through to you,
Oh, I will go look.
some pictures is they are the Empire's Guard, a general, and then a picture of the other generals from Final Fantasy 12, which a lot of people don't like, but I kind of like it.
Yeah.
But they have a weird set of technology where they're still got knights that run around with like magic and swords, but using their magic, they've got the technology of airships. But the weird thing is they've just discovered the power of gunpowder, and they've got weird technology of, even though it's powerful, they've got basic like hand muskets.
Sure.
Yeah, so like, but it's like slow and clunky to use.
Right.
Hmm.
No gunpowder
Hmm.
for this world.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of meant in, like, they're in the middle.
Yeah.
Also, there wouldn't be knights like that per se.
You're right.
Because it's fantasy, but not so blatantly fantasy, if that makes sense. But I could see 1 or 2 knights being a thing for like the top brass or something like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you may want to look into, not design-wise, but story-wise of that game.
Sure.
It's a bit weird because the main character you perceive that story through is not a great character, but the world building itself is pretty interesting.
Sure. I will probably look up a Let's Play of it because I don't play Final Fantasy games. I am allergic to them.
Yes. That is completely fair.
Did you know I don't want you to lay on top of me? At all? I don't have a lap. My buddy, my friend, my pal. I can go turn on your pad, though. I said I don't have a lap. I meant I don't have a lap, cat. I should probably eat something, but I don't know what hydrating thing I have to eat. Apparently I need to eat the celery. Oh geez, I really do need to eat the celery. Do I have peanut butter? Peanut butter. Peanut butter. No, but Drake does, but I don't want to eat his peanut butter. Okay, we'll just do range dressing. I will be right back. I gotta go to the bathroom before I eat. I'm back.
Oh boy.
What? What's wrong now? What?
Adult things.
Do I need to pause my stream?
You don't need to pause your stream. It's the fact that I have to be going to bed. I just
those type of adult things.
Yeah,
No, Well, at least we got some stuff done.
And I didn't think we had spent that much time. And then I looked at my phone, I'm like, oh shit, I have to be an adult. Because it's still dark outside, and I'm not things used to being dark outside.
I'm sorry, buddy. Thank you for being on stream with me, though.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think you're getting, Mouse. It's literally vegetables.
He thinks he's getting all the things.
He does. Maybe next time you, me, and Drake can sit down to a session of this and we can all talk it out. But I wrote down your ideas. I really like some of that. I'm going to get this game up and going, goddammit. I'm going to stream it. I'm going to figure out how to stream while I'm coding and stuff. Wahahaha. I have to be on my wife's computer anyway, so might as well learn how to do all that. At least in my opinion. Oui.
But I do have to go now.
Okay, buddy. Boy. Sad face. Knew I had wires. Alright, I'm going to stop my stream and eat lunch and then come back. So have a good day, Twitch. Have a good day, YouTube. I will see you probably a couple hours. If not, tomorrow.